My name is Armstrong. Welcome to my Business and Property Business Lockdown Rescue webinar series. Today's video is where I interview Mark Armstrong, an architect of 20 years experience, about how he's still coping and what he's still doing to get deals through in the current climate. Hope you enjoy. And welcome to our Wednesday evening, third in our series of lockdown rescue webinars. I'm just going to try and find Mark. There you go. So Mark, for a good evening to you.
Thank you too, mate. Everyone well?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. What I'm going to do this evening for the benefit of everyone is to talk to you about the opportunities at the moment in the current market. Okay. I know we've been speaking briefly today about where things are going and everything. But obviously, in the current market, we have got an issue that not many people can do viewings, not many people can get finance, not all building societies are doing finance. So we've been looking at a deal and analysing a deal today that we've offered on, that I believe the offer the agent has said should be acceptable to them. And we're just waiting for confirmation. But generally, you as an architect, how many inquiries would you normally get normal times per week for work, potential work?
I'd say 20.
Okay. And over the last 2 weeks, how many have you been getting?
I've had one this week, and I had 2 last week, and we had about 10 the week before.
So your business has dropped off a cliff?
Yeah, in short, yeah.
Like many others. So
exactly, yeah.
So I've come to you and said, here, look, we've got this deal. Can you see, it does already have planning, but you've obviously got project management skills, etc., as well. And, you know, I don't always believe other people's numbers, and I like you to look over them. Normally, you take a little while before you have time to look over them, but you've been able to look at it straight away.
Yeah, correct.
So I would say to everybody that at the moment, that if you find a potential deal that needs an architect, what's to stop you at the moment with the lockdown doing an assessment of a site and, you know, doing the drawings for a site for an application?
Nothing, mate. And to be honest, generally I can do most stuff from stock anyway. I've got some powerful tools that I use. It costs a fair whack to use, but enable me to be able to do pretty intensive desktop studies to limit my time needed out on the site anyway.
Okay, so for anyone finding potential deals at the moment, the architectural drawings and getting planning or getting a planning application in isn't going to be a problem.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so it shouldn't really be getting in the way of business at all.
No, it's not. I mean, from my point of view, developers are still very active, and those types of inquiries that still have dropped off. They're playing a bit of a longer game, and from what I can tell, they're using the government payout to their advantage at the minute. So they're, I don't know what the technical term is, forlow or something. Just using that to their benefit at the minute, and I predict I'll be very active very soon once again.
Okay, and so doing plans, how long would that normally take you to draw up a set of plans for, let's say, a block of 10 flats?
7 working days.
Okay, to get it for a planning application, yeah?
Yeah, to get it planning level, yeah.
Have you been submitting planning applications in the last week, 10 days? Where are we going with planning applications and actually getting them through?
A lot quicker, to be honest. That's down to about 4 days at the minute.
So 4 days for putting in a pre-app or a proper planning application?
Proper planning application once the survey is received.
Okay, and what about the council? Are the council working as normal? Are they on reduced staff? Have they got nothing going through at the moment, or just a backlog they're clearing? Where are they at?
Yeah, it's more of a backlog for them. Because the planning portal itself is an online program that's just monitored, and applications themselves have been validated quicker than ever. Normally it takes up to sort of 10 working days, but I literally submitted one yesterday and it was validated today.
Okay, so what is there stopping anybody putting in planning applications, getting the drawings done and getting a planning application through?
Nothing, mate, other than potential ear-mongering that you're reading in the papers. Like me, I think we're all reading a bit too much.
Yeah, everyone's looking at the news and going, oh my God, we're going to have a property meltdown. Now, I think if 50% of the population died, then you would end up with supply and demand issues.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But,
I mean, that's pretty unrealistic, isn't it?
But everything, for me, every town is supply and demand led.
Yeah,
and it is led by wages, particularly in the north of England, because the restriction, the reduction or the actual lower price point is because of the affordability of different people in those areas. Yeah. So the jobs that they do, they only earn a certain amount, so therefore properties that they can qualify, that's kind of the price that the properties sit at. So supply and demand, again, trying to sell them at the end, but there's always the opportunity to be able to refinance them and to sit on them for a period of time and mortgage them if you've got enough discount in them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a couple of smaller developers have come to me in the long game, signing up options that have got a long option time frame for them, knowing full well that they'll put planning in now, and they'll sit on the option for 12 months or whatever time frame suits them before they exercise it or sell it on. Okay,
then the other bit of the challenge, I think, is if we do get planning, builders are still working. I was talking the deal that we spoke about yesterday as a test case, as a case study. We've put in the offer today, and the builders can actually start and are happy to start straight away. So getting builders for projects isn't a problem. That leaves the final thing. How are any current projects that you've got at the moment for materials and supply of materials?
A little bit tight at the minute. Some we are finding builders merchant open, but they're classed as, I think, hardware stores technically, so they're able to open, but builders merchant is there straight up builders merchant closed from what I can tell. I've still got 1, 2, 3, 4 sites open, and 4 sites are closed. The 4 sites that are closed are big developers like Barclays, London Square, and Bellways.
The big boys,
Yeah, the big boys where they really can't manage the social distancing bit. On the smaller side, we've just reduced the amount of guys on site. I think we normally have 4, and we've got 2 on site, and they're basically rotating every second. They'll be out on site, but they're still working. Finding materials is a little bit harder, but it's still there.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk through the deal that we've been talking about today. Okay, we've put in an offer for something we're planning to build 9 flats, and we've put an offer of 1.25 in, which looks like it's going to be accepted. So it's already got planning, So we're not needing architects other than you checking the build cost. So the first challenge really is with planning. If we were to buy it, is there solicitors about to do the transaction? And the answer to that is yes, definitely, because on Monday I completed on a deal through my solicitors. So solicitors are still working, some in their office, some at home. So that isn't a hold up. Next comes, where's the money coming from for the project? Okay, so I've spoken to my bridges, and they've said as far as a development, it's more about the plans, and they can lend as normal on a development project. So they can lend up to 70% for the 60 to 70% for the purchase of the land, and still lend 100% of the development finance.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm finding as well. I just got a solicitor and a bridging company. They're all very active still, mate.
Okay, so then the next challenge is where is the 30% coming from? And this is what I'm doing. I have clients who, from webinars like this and from everything we're doing, we can email out to our database, and we can send an email out to say, look, we've got 9 flats for sale coming up. Would you like to buy it off plan now? And shall we have a look at the numbers on one of the actual site and where we are? Okay, the purchase price is 1.25, and we've looked at the build cost for the whole site. Where did that come in at?
The cost is sitting at 1.3, contingency caught 1.4, professional fees caught 1.5, all in.
Okay, so what we've said is that if you divide it by 9, the build cost and the cost of the land comes to 278 grand plus cost. So we've said it's going to be somewhere around the low 300s, 320, 330 cost to us. And with the GDV, and it's fairly right for the area, it's around Croydon. It's fairly right for the area that the GDV is going to be around about 450.
Yeah, just on that, Glenn, I managed to speak through the agent on neighbouring, nearby new builds.
Yeah.
Subject dues, and they only 5-10 pay off the asking price.
So we're there or thereabouts with that, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, which ties in with the numbers we were looking at anyway.
Okay, so we can actually structure, or somebody could structure a deal where you can pre-sell the 9 flats, and each flat's going to make a profit of just around £100,000.
Yeah, just over, yeah.
It's just over. So therefore, if anybody wanted to buy one of the flats, we could, or anybody putting and structuring a deal like this could give away half of the profit to the person who's buying off plan.
Quite easily, yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, if someone's sitting there with somewhere around the 50, 60 grand, or less because we're looking at 2 or 3 of these type of things, some that are slightly cheaper. If they had like 12.5% deposit on the GDV, so if the GDV of 450 on one particular flat, and they were sitting there with a deposit of 50 odd grand, they could give us the deposit. We can use that to cover the 30% that we need that the bridging aren't covering. And we can end up selling them the project, and they can either, off the back end from their 50 grand investment, make around £50,000 profit. Or keep,
a little bit more.
Or keep the project for themselves and put a mortgage on it, and end up with a 450 grand flat with only a 12.5% deposits left in it.
Yeah, spot on.
Okay, and then so if anybody wants to structure a deal like this, they could put this deal together the same and copy exactly what we've done. There is nothing within the lockdown to stop us from doing this at all, is there?
No, if anything, it's the right time, you know. I'm finding, much like everyone else, that more time on my hands, and you know, with the current climate, I think it's more opportunity than it is anything else.
Plus, I've negotiated nearly a 200 grand discount off market price on this project because of where we are at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw this open to questions to the people that are registered on here. And if you have a question, please type it for Mark or for myself in the chat box. Or if you want to pop your hand up, then we can come and you can ask directly on here. Okay, we've got someone called Parmi Bindra has got a question. Let's unmute them. Hi Parmi, you can unmute yourself and ask away any questions you've got to ask Mark, or type the questions in the chat box and we'll come to you and I'll read the questions out. Okay.
We haven't got a question at the moment, but what I am looking at the moment is I've done some deals at the moment with some properties, with some portfolios that I'm looking to take on, and I'm not sure whether to be cheeky and go back and renegotiate on a couple of the deals, or just to bear with and see what happens moving forward. I mean, I've already got about 20% discount, so I wasn't sure what you thought would be best to do moving forwards. Just looking to inspiration, really.
I always ask when any of my clients are looking to buy a portfolio to ask them what discount off of bricks that they can get. Okay. Your challenge with mortgages is one thing, but there are mortgage companies like Kent Reliance at the moment that are still mortgaging the projects in current climate. If you can squeeze it up to 25% and you structure it in the right way, what we would normally do, we would normally put a nominee in direct line with the seller. So if you just pick on one property that you get a 25% discount on, if you had your nominee had an option on that one property to buy it for 75 grand, okay, and the contract with that nominee basically says that if the seller was to sell to somebody else for a higher figure, your nominee would get the difference. Okay, so you would then buy it at the 100 grand price direct from the vendor, and then your nominee would get the 25 grand discount back to them, and then you've just got how to decide how to go, sort out the deposit back. But you can actually get 75% loan to value, and then all it's costing you is the cost of the stamp duty and the legals, and you're owning the property, for just a few £1,000s.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay. And if you need solicitors or anybody that are doing it, anyone on our programs, they're using our solicitors that do these all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've looked at things like that before. I've never acted on it, if I'm being honest with you, Glenn. Like I said, I've been in property for a few years. I've gone full time now. Okay. Since kind of June last year, and I'm doing quite a few service accommodation for which at the minute I'm being stomped. So I've just took on a block of 10 two-bedroom apartments in Crawley next to Gatwick.
Right.
And unfortunately, all the bookings will diminish. So I'm looking to obviously get a rent-free period from the landlord.
Yeah. So what's happened? What's happened with it?
At the moment, they're on a service accommodation basis. Okay. So I don't own them, these particular ones.
Yeah, you've got them on lease option, or you got them on rent to rent.
No, just rent.
Okay.
I've not got no lease, unfortunately. But I am looking for lease options moving forwards for service accommodations. I think I've definitely missed a trick there because I saw such a great deal and the potential cash flow. I jumped in and I didn't see it coming, to be fair.
Okay. All right, cool.
I don't think anyone did.
No, absolutely. I know that sounds obvious, but it's definitely a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah, I feel, I think we all do, mate.
So again, if you want to come, because tonight we're focusing on this particular deal and an architect's thing, but if you want to jump on tomorrow's webinar or send me an email about exactly what you just said, then we can have a discussion about it tomorrow and perhaps come up with some new solutions for you.
Yeah, no, welcome that. Thank you, Ben.
If you expand on it in as much detail as you can and drop me an email, if you could do that for the email rise before 10 o'clock tomorrow, then I can look at looking into how we can mitigate the challenge you've got at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. No, I appreciate it. Thanks, Ben.
All right. Cheers then.
Thanks.
Okay. So Carol's asked a question, Mark. Have solicitors got access to title registers and plans? So I think the question there translated is about land registry, whether land registry is still working as per normal.
Yeah, so they were actually closed their doors today, or maybe yesterday. It was working for me yesterday morning, but it wasn't today and hasn't been. So the answer to that is I don't know, but from everything that I can see and feel, because I tried to lodge a land registry application this morning, it seems they've closed their doors for the time being.
Okay. However, if you're buying something, you could normally get indemnity insurance if you're going to buy something quick anyway.
Yeah, so from that point of view, solicitors are still working. I mean, I've got a completion happening on Friday, and that's all pushing forward. And I can't remember what clause they've written in, but it's all going forward. So, yeah, from that perspective, yes, it is still working. I just don't know how, to be honest.
Sorry, say that again. You don't know how?
Yeah, I mean, yes, the completion is going forward on Friday, and I know of people that have completed this week, even one day. Land reg is closed. The solicitors are still working. But from my point of view, as long as the solicitors are happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, sure. And also the mortgage companies just have to be happy, and they're normally happy if the solicitors are happy. Which brings us on to Carol's question. I've also been told solicitors are not allowed to facilitate exchanges of contract.
I've also read the same thing. I've spoken to my set of solicitors, and I'm not sure about you, but my guys are all working.
Yeah, same here. And at the end of the day, what we're doing, buying a plot of land, so that's not going to be stopped because it's a plot. So, exchanging contracts and completing on it with bridging funds and with private people's funds, and the solicitors structuring kind of like an option deal on each of the properties, and people are buying into the option or share of. We've got to talk through the legal structure of how this is going to work. So the solicitors are working around most issues as far as I'm concerned. Okay.
Yeah, I understand that. I much like you probably have the same solicitors. I mean, if they're happy with it, then there shouldn't be any other problem.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Right, Jamie has got a question for us, one of my mentees. Hi, Jamie. Fire away with your question if you can hear me. Hi, Jamie, can you hear me? He came up green and now he's disappeared. I'm not quite sure where Jamie went. He put his hand up with a question and now he's kind of gone quiet on us. Okay, we've got another question from Karim. Hi, Karim. You need to unmute yourself and then you can ask away. Hi, Karim. Hi.
Hi there, Glenn. I am actually in a dilemma from 3 angles. Buying an off-plan property in London, and the developer, who is also the freeholder, had put three issues in front of me, which I'm a little bit hesitant in sort of getting to a final decision on the offer price. And the three factors are: one, that he's asking for a second deposit after exchange of contracts.
Okay.
So we do the norm at 10% on exchange, and then he wants a further sum of up to £50,000 post-exchange, but pre-completion.
Okay.
Secondly, the ground rent is at £200 per annum with a doubling increment every 25 years. So when you look at the whole, and the length of the lease is 125 years.
Yeah.
So by the time the lease expires, the ground rent will be about £3,000.
Yeah. So what you've got to do?
What will it be worth in all those years? We don't know, but it can be an off-putting factor.
Yeah. I mean, what's happening with that type of thing is more and more developers are selling share of freehold. Okay, because the properties that the government have actually put a little bit of a spanner in the works, but a lot of companies were doubling them every 5 or 6 years, the ground rents, and they were adding into a ridiculous thing, and mortgage companies weren't even mortgaging them. But doubling at the end of 25 years doesn't sound like it's going to be too much of an issue.
But it's a starting figure, so we kick off at 200, then it becomes frightening.
Yes, yeah. So that might, your solicitors, have they said anything about it with the mortgage? Because they don't normally know about the mortgage challenges to that type of thing.
No, we haven't gone that far yet. I mean, I did have a chat with my solicitor, and he said, it is a high figure, but it's a perception.
Yeah.
His view is it's a perception.
Yeah.
The doubling and the end ground rent figure in 100 years' time.
Yeah.
At £3,000. That's his take on it. I'm, saying, well, if we had a lower figure, it would be more palatable.
Yes.
Even for us at the starting point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a negotiation. So
the developer is not budging on it. Neither is he budging on the issue of the length of the lease.
Yeah. So is it one of the bigger developers? Is it?
No, small developer, private developer.
Okay.
No, that's the requirement. I've negotiated it down to 5% on the conversations we've been having.
Yeah.
We haven't started the process and we haven't agreed on the prices yet. Okay. But these are the initial discussions we've been having. Okay. And the other point that he's agreed to a 5% deposit on exchange, but he wants the purchase price of the property is around 675k.
Yeah.
And he's talking about 50,000 additional deposit post-exchange pre-completion, obviously to fund his development.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Which is, kind of what we need to do.
How can I protect myself from that? Because the total amount with the 5% and the 50k exceeds the £10,000, which is 10% rather, which exceeds the NHBC limits.
Yeah, so maybe you just need to look around for something different.
walk away.
Yeah, it sounds like to me they're just being a little bit too. They obviously need their cost for the building project.
Yeah.
But you're actually paying full market price for something that you're basically funding them to build. So for me, when we're selling this type of package that we're putting together, we're giving away 12.5% of the end profit, or 12.5% of the GDV, as which is half of the profit.
But that GDV is known to you, but not to me as a buyer.
No.
So how do I know that is the reduction you're giving me on the purchase price?
The GDV, I mean, on our flats, we know that we're selling a 2-bed for around 450. Okay. And we know what our costs are. So we know there's just over 100 grand profit in each particular one, and so therefore we're giving away around 50 grand of that profit to the people that are funding our deals. But that's how we're working in the current climate. We're not a traditional developer as such who retails their stuff to people and gets people to pay them the deposits up front. Although, Mark, you've done quite a lot of blocks of flats and been in charge of the projects before, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. In years. Quite a few.
And anything you want to add to Karim's question, Mark?
Not really from that point of view. I think it's pretty much covered, really.
Okay. All right, Karim. If we answered your question as best we can at the moment.
Dropped off that line.
Yeah, I think he's dropped off. I have to come back. He's popping his hands up again. Let's go back and see if we can find Jamie's. We've got Jerry, another one of my mentees, just asking a question. Jerry, fire away.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi.
Hi, yeah. Just sent an email, just a floor plan. I want to know how many lettable rooms I can get out of that property.
Okay.
Floor medical
Right.
facility.
Well, this isn't a normal mentoring email. This is kind of one where we're talking about developing flats and doing that type of thing at the moment. So we'll be talking about that on Tuesday's webinar again.
Okay, yeah.
All
No
right.
problem.
Is that just from a HMO perspective or a development perspective?
It's just from a HMO perspective, yeah, just the rooms I can get out of it and commercial valuation, how much I can get from commercial valuation for the property.
Well, the commercial.
I mean, that's fine for the next chat. My only suggestion would be look up your local council's minimum size guidelines for each room, and then once you've got that, we can have a chat when we see the floor plan. Yeah.
Right.
So we can put you in touch with Mark if you're not already, but don't forget you're going to lose some square foot for the kind of corridor and community space.
Yeah, it's just from my point of view, as long as you know the minimum standards in that particular borough or area of the UK, then I'll be able to work out the rest for you.
Okay, all right. Are you Mark, yeah? The architect?
I am, yeah.
Cool, all right. Okay, I'll get someone to get me in touch with you and I'll send the floor plans to you and stuff.
Okay, if you want to drop one of the staff an email, Jerry, they'll be able to forward it to Mark.
Brilliant. We'll do that.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Jamie. We've now unmuted you, and you should be all right. I don't know what happened last time.
I am here, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you loud and clear. How can we help you this evening?
Have I timed it bad? Is Mark, has he just left?
He's just gone to the little boys' room.
Okay, well, the question was for Mark. Is he saying that for any development he doesn't need to do a site visit to do drawings?
We'll ask him that question. I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying, because you've got a development project you're doing over Oxford Way, haven't you, at the moment?
Yeah, and that's the way I read what he was saying. Now, I had a local architect who was very keen to take it on, but he's basically said he needs to do a site visit, and therefore, under the current circumstances, we can't. Okay. But if Mark can without, then I'd be very keen for him to have a look and see what we can do.
Okay. Well, let's ask Mark that question. It sounds like he's just sitting back down. Is that you?
Yeah,
Back?
back. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Mark. Did you miss all of that?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so I've got a small development in Milton, just outside of Oxford. I was liaising with a local architect who said he was going to come along and do a site visit. Now, unfortunately, can't. So are you saying you can potentially do it without a site visit?
He should be able to, mate. I mean, Google Earth, Google Street View.
Yeah.
He should on other portals like Land Insight and stuff that should be able to give him enough information to give you a steer. You know.
Okay, so if I forward you the address and what the, if you like, outline plans are, and let you have a look at it, you can get back to me and let me know what you think.
Okay, yeah.
That'll be wonderful. Okay, I'll get that over, if not this evening, tomorrow for you.
No problem, mate.
All right, appreciate that.
All right. Cheers.
No worries, mate.
Cheers,
All right,
Jamie.
thanks, guys.
Okay. Right. So, thanks, Jamie. Let's just have a look. Just had Andrew has come in and said, I'm about to JV on a 5,000, I think, square metre piece of unused land in Kent that's not brownfield, but that's where it's been cut out after that, Andrew. So if you want to ask the question, you either need to continue it in the box or pop your hand up and I'll come to you. We're only going to do a couple more questions because we're running time and we finish up around 45. Let's go to Lade. Hi, Lade.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi. How can we help you this evening?
Hello, Glenn.
Yep.
Hello.
Yep, we can
You
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah. It's a question for Mark, rather.
Yeah.
So with the pre-app, how do we go about it? Do we apply to the council directly, or do we go through the active?
I mean, you can do it one of two ways. You can apply yourself. But obviously, you'll need someone to supply the statutory document to you to be able to submit. So you still need an architect or someone that has architectural skills. And what the type of pre-app is, obviously. I would highly advise if you're doing development work that you use an architect as opposed to someone that says that they're an architectural consultant. Be very careful. Obviously, the old saying, pay peanuts, you get, you know what. You can submit it yourself. You just get on the planning portal. Other than that, I would, if it is something a little bit more complex, you definitely need an architect or a planning consultant. He can step in and do that for you anyway.
Right. Okay. Would you need drawings to submit a pre-app? Or?
Yeah, you do, mate. So the basic.
So do you need an active then?
Say again.
I said you would need an active then to help submit the pre-app if obviously there's going to be drawings required.
Yes, but again, it depends. What sort of pre-app are you talking about? Are you talking about like a rear extension to a home, or are you talking about building 20 units?
So it's building flats. It's basically converting commercial property into residential flats.
Right, so onto Resi PD, under PD, I presume?
No, I don't think it's listed. If it's the one I've been looking at for him, it's not listed as offices. It's actually listed as retail. That the council, the council said put in a pre-app because they're not opposed to retail being converted to residential.
Yeah, you wouldn't need too many drawings for something like that, mate, because essentially that's a change of use application, which, yes, you do need some level of detail, but you don't need the level of detail in which you might need for, say,
I think
20 use complex.
At the moment, we're waiting to work out the square footage so we can work out how many flats we can get in there, so we can see whether it's viable.
I didn't get that today.
Okay, all right.
I went down there today, so I was able to take the measurement.
All right. So on our
So
Tuesday,
it's
webinar, we'll be able to have a look at it. But go on, you can tell me what the measurements were.
Well, I can tell you now.
Yeah, go on then, just quickly.
Okay, yeah. So it's 1,254 square foot.
Per floor, yeah.
A floor, yeah.
How many? 1,200 and what?
50.
54.
54. And how many floors?
3.
3
So
floors.
times that by 3.
Multiply it by 3.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. 1, 2, 5, 4. Sorry.
So what are we talking? Probably.
So that's 3,762.
Yeah. So what we're talking 6 1-beds, Mark.
So you're
I was
losing
thinking 2 beds.
Pardon?
I was thinking 2 beds, or I don't know.
What's the minimum size requirement for a 2-bed, Mark? Because we're
61 square metres.
yeah, so ain't going to happen. You're not going to get 2 beds out of it because you're going to lose a bit of each floor for stairs in corridors.
Right, okay.
So I think they're going to be like 6 1-beds. So the next stage you need to do is to work out what the gross development value of 6 1-bed flats is going to be.
Okay.
All right, and then we can then we'll be able to work it out from there on Tuesday on the webinar. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool. Right, so Mark, there was one more question from someone that I think we'll take before we wrap up. I've got somebody on here who's just said, his name's Chris, just says, I'm new to development but not new to property, I have over 100 rooms between, and that, Chris, that actually finishes there. I can't see any more of your text than that. But Andrew said, I'm about to JV on a 5,000 metre piece of unused land in Kent that's not brownfield but unclassified. We hope to build 6 to 8 detached units on it. How long do, and that's as far as you've got, Andrew. I haven't got any more of the question. But have you had any dealings with not brownfield unclassified land, Mark?
I have, yeah. So first of all, you need to go in and get it classed. And generally I'd advise on something like that to go in sui generis, because once you get it classed as sui generis, it pretty much opens the door for you to turn it into whatever you want.
Okay, so yeah, how do you think it's been?
Just to answer that previous gentleman's question about how many flat in that 3,000 or 6,000, 3,700 foot slot, you'll get 5 to 6 1-bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I just said quickly about 6 1-beds should do it, depending on the size. Yeah. Right. Ben, one of my clients. How much does a pre-app cost for building on a plot? Ben, it's about 400 quid. It's different from council to council. And what's the cost?
Some councils are charging you now per unit that you are trying to put on the spot. So
even on pre-apps, yeah.
Yeah, it's only just come in, but I think this COVID thing will actually take it back away. But they are looking to charge about 300 quid per unit that you want to put on there as a pre-app. So it hasn't been rolled out through the NPPF or anything like that, but some councils have already started doing it.
Okay, but it's roughly about £400 per unit.
Yeah. I mean, for now, for something like, let's just go off what everyone else is doing. It's 400 quid for the application to the council, and then however much time it takes the consultant to prepare it.
Okay, so Ben said he's been quoted £600 plus that. So it's £400 to the council and £200 to the architect who's doing the drawings, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's an architect doing that at 200 quid, he's only spending half a day on it. So, depending on where you are in the country, sorry, I'm in London, so everyone knows.
Okay. Cool. So, I do believe that's most people's questions answered. We're going to be running again tomorrow. Anybody's got anything that they need solving, please drop me an email at glenn@glenarmstrong.com, and we'll look at seeing if we can resolve any of your current crisis issues or challenges from lockdown. I've got quite a lot of experts on the end of my speed dial that I can contact to ask questions when you're having challenges. So thank you, Mark, very much for joining us this evening.
No problem, mate.
I'm going to send everyone an email out about this project that we're doing, and obviously you're available for any questions on that as well. But thank you for joining us. Thank you everybody for joining us this evening. We'll be starting again around about 30 to 45 minutes again tomorrow. So take care. Have a very good evening, everybody, and stay safe.